Okay. All right. Here's the good luck, have fun for future. All right. As soon as you mute it, I'll fire it up because I can hear myself echoing. Mute your mic, please. All right, guys, here we go. Game number 2 between KI Fire and VT Future. We just saw Future drop the first game on Typhon Peaks, trying to get that expansion up. Fire just pushed and killed him with about 4 Colossi, which is a scary thing to deal with for anybody. Both players opted for very similar builds. Future took the first risk in that expansion, and that was all it took for Fire to jump all over him and do some big damage. So here we are in game 2. I'm going to see if things are any different here. Future spawning in the left-hand position at 9 o'clock as the teal Protoss player and his opponent KI Fire spawning appropriately as the red Protoss down at 6 o'clock. This is, of course, MLG Metalopolis, perhaps the most legendary StarCraft 2 map to date. Came out with the launch, and it has since given us many good tournament games and many good ladder games, and probably the most celebrated Blizzard map to date, alongside Xel'Naga Caverns. This is, of course, the Alienware Arena, brought to you by e-rev Alienware and the good folks at MLG. Thanks for joining us. We'll be casting the rounds of 32, round of 16, round of 8, and maybe even the round of 4 today. But if you want to watch the finals, you're going to have to tune into those on July 6th. Those will be casted by the MLG folks, which I'm sure means DJ Wheat and company, and maybe JP as well. So that'll be happening on the 6th, so do not miss that. Here we see KI Fire moving out with an early scout. Future also scouting fairly early. Both these guys trying to keep it safe, keep it standard. Future knowing he's down a set, doesn't want to die to any sort of cheese, any sort of proxy stuff. Both guys, one gate, one gas. And somehow Fire has one more probe. I don't know how this keeps happening. Poor Future. Consistently a probe behind. So he's just going to poke at the assimilator of his opponent, and maybe even a probe for G-ing and T-ing and F-ing and O. And Cybercore down for Fire. Cybercore down for Future. Identical builds thus far. And I can hear a storm brewing in the background behind me. It could be southern summer weather. It could also be the amazingness that will be the PvP action that we're going to see here in the next few minutes. Fire poking away at Future's pylon. That sure is annoying. And second gas down for Fire as well. So immediately taking this fast 2 gas. This tells me that he wants to tech pretty hard. Maybe doing some sort of I don't know. It's too soon to call, but I would think DTs or Blink maybe. Oh, did he steal? He did steal the gas of Future. Future pulling probes off the line immediately. Doesn't want to deal with that. He knows that he has to have that second gas. That is so annoying. And that assimilator is going to take forever to kill. Future's going to lose a lot of mining time there, and he's kicking himself right now for letting that happen. So he does finally knock this assimilator down, but it comes at a price. Price of lost mining time, price of lost gas. So anyways, over to the base of fire. I'm just waiting for him to make a decision. Look at this future built plan, so safe. Throws down a forge immediately, realizing that his opponent has been on 2 gas for a long time and he does not want to deal with any sort of DT antics. Fire is not going to be making any sort of DT antics, so we see a robotics facility down, and he looks like he just wants to play a very similar game to what we saw in game number 1 on Typhon. And so we're just going to have to see what happens. 22 probes, 1 zealot, 1 stalker for each player. The lone difference here is this forge. Well, I shouldn't say lone difference. Forge gateway versus gateway, and then of course a robotics facility instead of a cannon. So future in the dark, and let's just be frank, guys. This isn't a good position for him. He's behind in tech. Economically, they're even. Militarily, they're even. But that's going to change very soon, as Fire is going to have his first observer. Oh no, he's going to get an immortal first. So he's going to go Immortal and then Observer. Regardless, that's going to put him in great shape militarily. And oh, this is interesting. Stargate going down for future. So maybe that's why he got the cannon, just because he realizes that DTs are so good against Stargate. I love this. Stargate play is an excellent way to counter Robo play. So I was thinking that he was making a bad read, but in fact, he might have made a perfect read. He could go either Phoenixes or Void Rays, and either would be very strong against Immortals and Sentries and so few Stalkers. Fast Robotics Bay going down for Fire, and future metagaming hard. You're going to go Phoenixes. I love it. I love it so much, guys. So what we're going to see here is future's going to pump out maybe 3 or 4 or 5 Phoenixes. As many Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots as he can afford alongside it. And then he's just going to go push, and he's going to lift the Sentries so that Force Field's not a factor. He's going to walk right up the ramp, and he's going to try to bust the front. That's how it's supposed to happen in theory. But look at this Observer into the base of Future. And that's going to basically clue Fire in on everything that's happening. I don't know what he just canceled. But instead, he's going to throw down another Gateway and a Twilight Council. Oh, that was the robotic space, so he's not going to get Colossi. He realizes that he's kind of on the clock. Phoenix is in. They're going to see the Twilight Council, and they're going to see the robotics facility. So Future knows exactly what's up. Picking off a couple probes before darting out. I love it. I really feel like Future needs to think hard about hitting a good timing here, though, because if Blink finishes, these Phoenixes are going to quickly become very, very useless. A little bit of a supply block setting in here for Future. Fire in the meantime. Twilight Council is down as the lightning outside my window paints the walls, and you guys can probably hear the thunder. I hope, beyond hope, that we don't have any sort of power outage. That would be a real bummer. So 4 gateways down now for Fire. Robotics, Blink being researched. And Future just kind of poking around with these Phoenixes, doing a little scouting where he can. 5th Phoenix on its way out now. And a probe moving forward. That is almost certainly going to be for a proxy pylon. Bam! Another probe snipe there for Future. And another probe snipe. So doing a really nice job of creating an economic lead for himself. You can see here on the income tab, Future not way ahead. But he's got like a healthy 80 mineral per minute lead. And that's going to really become substantial as time marches on. So probe just controlling the Zelnaga Tower. No pylon down yet. I can't really tell if Future's going to commit to an attack or not. And Fire throwing down his forge. Blink is finishing. Oh, and there is the first Blink. He's going to jump up and not going to kill any Phoenixes. They're going to do some good damage to 2 of them, taking out all the shields and a lot of the health of one of those things. But with the Stalkers out of position, Rich is going to fly right into the base. Future going to fly right into the base and pick off several probes. And now Fire blinking back up, but not going to be able to kill a single Phoenix. Future creating a very nice lead for himself, but look over here in the corner. This is going to be for a Dark Shrine, almost certainly. KI Fire proxying the pylon. There's the Dark Shrine. Going to try to get some DTs into play here. No robotics anywhere for Future. So with no detection, this expansion is going to be almost. I mean, there's no way. If he doesn't get a cannon down there on the low ground, DTs are going to be brutal So it's all going to come down to whether or not Rich scouts this. Of course, Future probably not going to scout that. Proxy pylon going down as well. These DTs are going to be excellent for defending as well as for attacking, obviously. Templar Arclight is going down. Future really needs the robotics for some sort of mobile detection, though he has to know that DT is an option. And if not the robotics for detection, then he wants to get a cannon down in the natural just so he can continue to be safe and to build on this lead he's created for himself. A nice 6-probe lead. He's continuing to harass with these Phoenix. There's a good blink. 2 probes are going to die, but a Phoenix is going to go down as well. So the 6-probe lead becomes an 8-probe lead. But Future does lose a Phoenix in the exchange. Expansion is now up for Fire. And still no cannon for Future. Please, Future, build us a cannon. We need some detection down here. The Dark Shrine is done. The first DT warping in just now. And a proxy pylon going up for Fire. This could be absolutely huge. Still no robo from Future. Completely foregoing any sort of detection. His ramp will be safe. But his ramp is only safe if he's got units there to hit the DTs, because the DTs can run right past. If Future does not get some detection, there's just not going to be anything he can do. Fire on 2 bases now, still behind on probes, as Future's been doing a great job of probing really hard. And 2 DTs are in place. Still no cannon. Still no robotics. So Future just, I guess it's just not going to happen, man. Okay, there's the cannon. Finally. Reaching through the internet, he hears me. The question is, will this cannon be able to finish before these DTs do tremendous amounts of damage? Now Fire's on the clock. First it was Future, now Fire. He's got to strike soon, or else this disadvantage is going to be too much for him to overcome. And look, Future's going to move out right as the DTs move into the back of his base. They're going to kill a couple, 1 probe, 2 probes to go down. He sees the cannon, and he's going to come over immediately. Probes are going to try to run to the main. Cannon is going to be canceled, so the expansion of Future is now forfeit, and he's just now starting his robotics. He realizes what's happening. Meanwhile, Phoenix is in the main of Fire, flying right over the Stalkers. So Fire, really, he has to hold this expansion. Great force field on the ramp. He can't get down. Future needs to just focus down this expansion and then get out of there to kind of even the score. He is behind in probes now. But, okay, so Future has finished charge. She's transitioning into Charge Lot Archon, which is great, but with no detection. He doesn't need to fight here. This is not a fight he can win. DTs are going to shred his entire army. Phoenix is lifting up all the Stalkers, but Future going to lose his entire army as Fire is just warping in more Stalkers. I feel like Future would have been in better shape just to leave, as those DTs are doing tremendous amounts of damage. We can see the supply disparity starting to mount. 54 supply for Future, 55 supply now, 62 supply for Fire. And, oh man, had to cough there. I was getting so excited. Future does have some excess cash here, and he does have a strong position at the top of this ramp, but he's going to have a very difficult time retaking his expansion, as he does have the smaller army. Fire almost, well, not quite. Well, he's got a significant advantage in terms of the value and the size of his army. Observer is now out for Future, so he can retake this expo. And basically, guys, this game is almost going to reset itself. Future still has a small probe lead. Fire's expansion is going to come up first, though, and so that'll allow him to sort of even things up economically. And for all practical purposes, he's going to be mining on 2 bases for a while before Future is, so he'll be ahead in that regard. Of course, the main of Future all but mined out, the main of Fire as well, becoming very, very thin. So this is just 1 base to 1 base into more 1 base to 1 base. Pure Charge Lot Archon for Future, and we've got Stalker, Zealot, High Templar. I don't know what that High Templar is going to do. It has to be just waiting for another temp to turn into another Archon. Now, critically, the Stalkers for Fire do have Blink, and that's going to make them super mobile, as they do get surrounded here by these Zealots, and then they blink away. So Fire trying to poke out Future with a nice lift. These Archons are going to just have a field day on that Stalker. And Pushing down into the natural now. Fire is having to defend. I felt like he had a big advantage here, but the Zealot Archon army of Future looks absolutely terrifying. He's ripping through the Zealots and the Stalkers of Fire. But Future deciding that, in fact, he does want to turn around. I guess he lost his Observer, maybe? Is that what happened? Fire sniping off the Observer. And with no detection, Future has no choice but to turn around and go home. Very interesting game unfolding here. Future now with a larger army, and but also now falling behind in probes. So very, very crazy, hectic game we have here. Stargate no longer being really relevant. Archon still being warped in, and Zealots as well being added with all sorts of haste. Fire taking a third base. Now, if he can secure this base, he's going to obviously be in a tremendous position. If Future realizes this is happening, and oh, does he ever realize this is happening? He can see it. He's got a pylon there. I would love to see him make some DTs of his own, but honestly, maybe that wouldn't be the best plan as Fire does have plenty of detection. But this is what we are going to see. We're going to see Future pushing down into the natural and probably going to be warping in some Zealots up there in the third. Future has the Archon advantage. Future has the Zealot advantage. Future has a huge army advantage in terms of value. He surrounds all the units of Fire. Nice blink surrounding the Archons, but I don't think it's going to be enough as the army of Fire just melting under the mass Archon of Future. And Zealots were warped in up in the third base. Fire's going to have no choice but to cancel that. It is going to die. The natural of Fire getting absolutely ravaged. Archon's just destroying so many probes. If we look at the workers lost tab, Future's killed 37 probes now. And the probe count, what? He's killed 40 workers, and Fire still has 30 probes. Fire been doing a great job of staying on top of things, but he's just lost his natural. He's losing his main as well, and he's got one last desperate attempt at a counter, which is going to be DTs into the natural, but with a cannon and Zealots there is no chance. So Fire just collecting himself before he taps out. What an epic game, guys. Future going Stargate into Charge Lot Archon. Fire trying to play the standard Robo style and not quite getting it done. Wow, DTs did manage to knock out the cannon at the top of a Future's ramp, and also knocking off the robotics. So no more observers are going to be able to be made, but it's not going to matter. Fire has no probes. Fire has no money. Fire has no expansions. That is absolutely going to be GG. He is just kind of desperately trying to see if he can get anything else done. Never give up, never surrender, says Fire, but there's not a whole lot else he can do. So, I mean, we will be seeing a Game 3 for sure. It's going to be Fire's pick. Maybe he's just kind of collecting himself, trying to decide what map he wants to take in game number 3. What an excellent PvP this has been. GG from Fire. And 1-1 goes the series. VT Future versus KI Fire. How exciting was that? I did not know that PvP could be so much fun, guys. Stick with us. We'll be back in just a minute with game number 3.